What is up, Pats Nation? It is Patriots Global here with another video, and our New England Patriots are coming off of a pretty disappointing loss to the Tennessee Titans, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. Now, by the title, you can probably tell that we are going to be talking about what we learned from the game. I mean, New England was coming off of what I think was a 6-win winning streak, and then they lost. And they lost pretty bad, especially when it came to a team that they should have beat. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think the Tennessee Titans are as bad as many people think. I mean, they are the #1 scoring defense in the league. I mean, their defense is not bad at all. Their offense definitely isn't great, though. And for them to put up over 30 points on our defense is just unacceptable. So without further ado, let's get into the video, and these are in no specific order, but the first thing we learned is that the Patriots need to do something about tight end. The Pats put out Rob Gronkowski for another game, and I think that was actually a great move. A lot of people are going to hate it, but it was a really good move. I mean, you are now going to give him 3 weeks to rest and recover and hopefully get better. But you then had just 2 tight ends. You had Dwayne Allen and Jacob Hollister. Dwayne Allen ended up leaving the game with an injury. The injury is not yet known. He ended up coming back into the game and then ended up leaving the game again and then ended up going to the locker room. And then you had Jacob Hollister, who has missed several games this season already, finally came back and had a pretty crucial drop. He had 1 catch, but I mean, the guy is supposed to have some pretty solid hands, and definitely did not show that, and he definitely is not a blocking tight end at all. Now, this late into the season, I'm not 100% sure what kind of tight ends they can get. Obviously, they cannot make a trade as the trade deadline is over. They might look to add the tight end from the practice squad, a guy they really like, a guy that has NFL experience, and a guy that can also catch. Now, by no means are they definitely going to add a tight end. It's really going to come down to Rob Gronkowski's status while also figuring out the status of Dwayne Allen. In my opinion, I feel like something is missing on this offense, and a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, have felt the exact same way, but a lot of people are saying add another wide receiver. I think what we need is a tight end. Tom Brady loves his tight end. If you look back to when Martellus Bennett was here, he was a huge factor. Brady was going to him all the time, especially when Gronk wasn't there. And now that Gronk's been out, Brady does not have a tight end to go to at all. I just think if the Patriots can add a tight end that can fairly well block, but can more importantly get out and make some actual catches, then that is going to help this offense out so much. The next thing we learned is that this Patriots offensive line needs its starters to stay good. Now, last week versus the Packers wasn't anything bad. I believe the only person on the offensive line that was missing was Shaq Mason. Didn't do too bad. You had Ted Karras in taking his spot. Karras didn't do great, but he didn't do terrible. But we then go to this week, and we had Trent Brown going in and out of the game several times with an illness. He'll be fine, but for this game, obviously, he was going in and out of the game. Adrian Waddle was taking his spot. You then had Marcus Cannon, right tackle, going in and out several times with different type of things. I know he had an eye problem at one point, so then Adrian Waddle was flipping from left tackle to right tackle, going in and out of the game several times. Not to mention, you then still have Shaq Mason out, so you still have Ted Karras in, and Ted Karras not doing a great job. Since playing right guard, he is allowed at least 1 sack a game. I don't know the stats of the game yet. Those will probably be coming out tomorrow, but I know that he allowed at least 1 sack today, and I know that he allowed a sack last week. This is actually one of the top graded offensive lines in the NFL. I think they're graded like 4th or 5th best offensive line in the NFL. And they just could not keep Brady safe whatsoever. Brady just had no time to throw to a receiver. Sony Michel was having a hard time getting some stuff done because there were just no holes coming through. I mean, these defenders were just breaking through this offensive line and just tackling Sony Michel or sacking Tom Brady. So a big thing we learned is that this offensive line needs its starters, and this offensive line needs to play good for this offense to actually get something done. You look at the games where the offensive line was bad, and those usually are the games that have come extremely close, or more importantly, have been the games that we've lost. The next thing we learned is that injuries are very much becoming a factor this week, and that more importantly, this bye week is going to be more needed for these New England Patriots players. Like I mentioned, you had Shaq Mason out, you had Trent Brown with an illness, you had Dwayne Allen exit the game, and then we also had Julian Edelman leave the game. Now, I don't think that is serious. Obviously, we don't 100% know yet, but he did walk off on his own power. He was never really limping. I kind of noticed, but I was really paying attention, but he wasn't on the field and needed help or anything. You just saw him walking off to the locker room with some trainers, but like I mentioned, he was walking by himself. He looked fine. Might have just tweaked something. We were going to lose the game either way. It was the fourth quarter, so I'm sure they just pulled him out, wanted to make sure everything was okay. Like I mentioned, we have a bye week. So I think that he should be ready to go versus the Jets, but again, don't quote me on that as we don't know exactly what it is. Good news is, though, about Jules is that he was there for interviews after the game. The next thing we learned is that each game that goes by is actually going to be very important for this New England Patriots, and this is going to be very underlooked, but you got to look at it like this. The Patriots need to be the number one team in the AFC by the end of the regular season in order to get home field advantage. They need to be at least the second team in the AFC in order to get that first week bye week during the playoffs. And we have seen several times how important that home field advantage is for the New England Patriots, how important that bye week is in the playoff, and just how important those things go together for this New England Patriots team. The past 2 years, we have been number one in the AFC and have gotten home field advantage, and each of those years, we have gone to the Super Bowl. Now, the year before that, we were the second team in the AFC, and it was the Broncos that took number one, and they got home field advantage, and we got the first round bye, and then the championship game, and we went to Denver and ended up losing and not progressing to the Super Bowl. Now, don't get me wrong, of course teams can come to Foxborough and beat us, but right now the New England Patriots are undefeated when they are at home. I just really don't think people understand how important home field advantage and that first round bye are for this team. And we are now going to be sitting at 3 losses, and then you have the Chiefs with just 1 loss, and then you have the Chargers with 2 losses. So we are at least, at least the third team in the AFC. So really, the New England Patriots just need to keep winning these rest of the games, but what also needs to happen is that the Chiefs need to start losing games along with the Chargers. Now, the last thing we learned is that newly signed safety Obi Melifonwu should be a pretty important piece as long as he can stay healthy. I just feel like we've really been starting to see the age and kind of just the progression of this New England Patriots safeties. I mean, between Chun and McCourty and Harmon, they are not as fast as they used to be. They are not as sharp as they used to be. They need someone to come in here and help the secondary. Like I mentioned, as long as Obi can stay healthy, he will be a pretty vital piece to this secondary as long as he can pick things up and also be able to get snaps. The guy is freakishly tall, freakishly athletic, and pretty dang fast. So as long as he can pick things up, I really feel like he will be a big piece of the secondary, and we will see something different that we have not seen from the secondary in a pretty long time. But that is it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on today's loss to the Titans? Make sure you guys let me know in the comments below. I know a lot of you kind of talked about it in my live stream after the game, so thank you for everyone who joined that. But make sure you guys share this video with everybody so we can grow the Patriots global family. And other than that, I will catch you guys in another video.